no show. There was no sign today of the federal grand jury in the case involving Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election. And the reason is unclear. But it was significant because we do know that the jury is expected to meet every Tuesday and every Thursday. And we do know the activity in this particular investigation has been ramping up and by all current accounts is expected to end in a criminal indictment of the former president. Trump, in fact, has been bracing for any moment for an indictment since receiving the target letter from the special counsel, and that was 9 days ago. The case would, of course, if an indictment comes, as it could at any time, adding to Trump's already packed court schedule, which is in the center of the 2024 Republican primary season. I just want to show you this calendar so you can see it for yourself. In yellow, those are the known dates for Republican primaries next year. And then in red, 3 of Trump's upcoming court dates: January 15th, second E. Jean Carroll civil defamation trial. March 25th is the Manhattan hush money trial with the DA Alvin Bragg. And May 20th is the beginning of the Mar-a-Lago classified documents trial in Florida. And hold that up for a second, because those red, those are just start dates, right? Once you start, you have a certain number of days or weeks where a trial would go on. So as you can see, it is going to be a situation where these cases are happening while primary voters are casting their ballots, and it will dominate the GOP election cycle. And I haven't even added in the potential indictment that could be coming in January 6th or in Georgia. And because of that overlap in the primary season, one of Trump's biggest allies on Capitol Hill, the Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, is now trying to change the subject for the first time, directly threatening President Biden with impeachment.
But Hannity,
Mr.
this is
Speaker,
rising to the level of impeachment inquiry. This president has also used something we have not seen since Richard Nixon, used the weaponization of government to benefit his family.
All right, now that was last night. Not even 24 hours later, here's McCarthy again.
You've got to get to the bottom of the truth. And the only way Congress can do that is go to impeachment inquiry.
Significant, because he hasn't been talking about that. He hasn't been using that word. He hasn't been bringing up. And now, suddenly, twice within 24 hours. Paula Reed is out front live in Washington to begin our coverage tonight. And Paula, I started the show with the words no show. You know, we were expecting on Tuesdays, on Thursdays, the grand jury, which doesn't necessarily mean it's exactly tied to when news may break of a possible indictment. But what do you know about why the federal grand jury did not appear to meet today when this case appears to be coming to a head?
It does appear to be coming to a head, and while this grand jury does usually meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays, that schedule can be amended to suit the needs of prosecutors. But as you said, today there was no indication they were in the courthouse, but prosecutors have plenty of other work to do. We know over the past 48 hours, they have received thousands of documents created by the team of lawyers that then President Trump assembled to try to find any evidence of fraud in the 2020 election. Aaron, late last night, we obtained many of those documents. After reviewing them, none of them really seem critical to any possible prosecution of former President Trump. And it still remains our reporting that an indictment could come any day. He has received a target letter. He has been given the opportunity, which he declined, to go before the grand jury. Aaron, there is one other thing at play here. Even if prosecutors were ready to indict the former president, it is unlikely that they would do that this week because tomorrow is a high-profile hearing for President Biden's son, Hunter Biden. This is the hearing to solidify a plea deal he has reached with the Justice Department, and it is unlikely that Attorney General Merrick Garland, who has spent pretty much his entire time in office trying to restore trust in the Justice Department, trying to prove to people that there is no political bias, that he would want to do anything that would overshadow that. So again, even if they were ready this week, it is likely that that would be a consideration from the Attorney General. So we'll be watching. That hearing is tomorrow, Wednesday, and then on Thursday, we'll be watching again for the grand jury.
All right, Paula, thank you very much. And I want to go now to Ty Cobb, the former Trump White House lawyer. And Ty, as Paula said, no sign of the grand jury meeting in this case today. Many people, including yourself, thought that we would have an indictment by now. So what do you think might be slowing this down?
So I'm not convinced 100% that it's slowed down. I mean, there is still the possibility that a sealed indictment was returned last Thursday and that it hasn't been unsealed. On the other hand, there's nothing that indicates that that's real, just like there's nothing that indicates when Jack Smith will reveal whatever indictment he's going to bring. So, but that is a possibility, and it could be an explanation as to why the grand jury didn't meet today. With regard to the timing, though, I do believe that Smith is determined to go. I think he is. He's probably not included in the strategic discussions about when or how to announce this. That Merrick Garland is guiding only to the extent that he will be given the green light at some point to release the indictment because I don't think he's making any political decisions. I think the fact that the potential for an indictment on Thursday, might somehow impugn the integrity of this process, which has been ongoing for 2 years now.
Yeah.
I don't think that should be a major concern, and I think if they're ready to go on Thursday, they will.
Do you think?
I think the odds are. I was going to say,
yeah.
I think the odds are 50-50 on a release Thursday or next week.
So on that front, let me ask you, I know you were noting that after the target letter was received by Trump, there was a change in counsel. And that perhaps even though, as Paula points out, Trump did not personally avail himself of the right to appear before the grand jury, perhaps that new counsel who was coming in is.
Yes, I mean, that's also a possibility. There's nothing out there that indicates one way or the other that that's happening. On the other hand, if I took over a case like this, immediately after a target letter, I would sure want to talk to Jack Smith.
Right.
And there's no reason for Jack not to do that. They both he and Mr. Lauro are alumni of the Eastern District of New York's U.S. Attorney's Office. It's a courtesy that would not be uncommon. On the other hand, there's nothing that Lauro, knowing as little as he does about the case, given the short time he's been allowed to be in it, is going to say it's going to change Jack Smith's approach or decision.
And just to be clear, I want to make sure what I said was clear, that Lauro had the right to have a meeting or to ask for a meeting, possibly with the special counsel. I had said grand jury, so just to make sure everyone heard me clearly.
No, that's right.
So the Fulton County DA in this context, right, there's been this expectation, of course, Ty, that first goes Jack Smith, then goes Fani Willis, and she had announced remote work days for the weeks of August 7th and August 14th, and extra security needed, which had led everybody to believe that was her plan. Are they in lockstep? Are they working together? Does Jack Smith go and then Fani Willis go, or have we all read too much into this?
Well, I don't think we've read too much into it. I mean, there is a tension here. If you're Jack Smith, you do not want a Georgia district attorney to set out in a lengthy RICO case, her theory of the election fraud not election fraud, but the election prosecutions that Smith is more well versed on and has more authority and power. So Smith needs to, I think, get out before she does in order to set the terrain and the terms under which the election interference charges are going to be dealt with. And it may be for example, in Michigan, we saw the indictment of the fake electors. It may be that Willis's case is as limited as that and not much more, or she may have a more wide-ranging case. We just won't know until we see what she does. There are many motions pending in that case that are actually quite serious in terms of the arguments raised by the Trump team in terms of how the initial grand jury was used and whether there were any abuses there, and motions to recuse Willis. The appellate court has rejected taking that over so far. We'll see what happens after the indictment. But I think Smith, has to and wants to be out in front of her.
All right. Well, obviously the clock is ticking here, as we say, every day, every night. Ty, thank you very much.